With the end of the year rapidly approaching, there are many things dancing in our minds and keeping us awake at night. If you are the owner of a small esoteric healing practice, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about taxes. Tax laws are constantly changing, and we have you covered here at Vital Bioenergetics. On Saturday, December 11th, I'll be hosting a 3-hour seminar about how you can find all of the small business deductions that you are entitled to. Then I'll open the floor for your questions about taxes, whether they're related to the course or not. Please sign up for this informative course at www.vitalbioenergetics.com and click on the workshop link. And now for today's podcast.
Welcome to High Vibes with your host Bill G and co-host Nina G. At High Vibes, we're looking into what it means to be a fourth dimensional being in an ever-changing world. We hope that by listening to this podcast, you can feel a greater sense of peace and connection as we collectively raise our energetic vibration to the next level. And now for today's podcast.
Hello and welcome to
High Vibes.
I'm Bill G and I'm here with Nina, and today we also have Jayme Westrom with us as well. So this is a very exciting episode because today we're going to be talking about one particular very cool, very interesting product that Jayme sells through her website, the biofieldexpert.com. And this is called the Biofield Resonator. Nina and I just received ours yesterday. Before we get into the story of what it was like when we received our Biofield Resonator in the mail, Jayme, why don't you describe what it is and how it got developed?
Sure. Great to be here with you guys again today. I have used several resonators in the past. There's a company that I work with. I use their supplements, and they have had a couple different varieties of these, and they've gone out of stock and they no longer produce them anymore. And it was one of my healing tools that I really liked. When you're muscle testing in a practice, people bring all kinds of things in front of you, and they've got bracelets and devices on their phones and things they're plugging into their walls. And testing a lot of these things, I was finding that people were purchasing devices for, a fair amount of money that weren't working and weren't doing anything to enhance their energy field. So I decided that I wanted to create something that actually worked, that I had some control over and could have available to my clients in my practice. So I just took, things that I had learned along the way and started muscle testing different ideas. And I started with what metal to use. I settled on bronze and copper. Those seem to be the most highly resonant and have a really positive effect on most people's energy fields. So after that, I used a process called Quantum K, which we talked about a little bit earlier. It's a method that's channeled by a gentleman named Andrew Kempleton. He's in England, and he has a fantastic website, which you can go to and study his curriculum. He's got great dowsing lists up there. But he had a couple things that I thought were really important to a person's energy field with corresponding numerical sequences. So I picked 4 harmonics of his. I used one that stands for divine protection, one for love, one for enhancing immune function to 100%, and one for blocking man-made frequencies. So those made their way onto the coin. And then the third component to it is a sacred geometry design, if you will. If that's how most people refer to them, but it's a geometric shape that has a very strong energy that it creates. So those 3 components came together, and I was telling Nina that even the paper prototype worked. So I knew it was going to be a neat device when it was actually like in its full finished form, and it was just more powerful than I could have predicted. So that's sort of how it started, and Yeah, I'm excited to hear that you guys got yours yesterday and did some testing with it.
Yeah, when I first got in the mail, the first thing we did was I took out my dowsing rods because I wanted to test the field around Nina and the field around myself. And so I had my dowsing rods, and we first tested it without it, and the biofield around Nina was about 4 inches from her body, so a fairly weak field. And so then she put it in her hand, and then it was like 2 feet in diameter. I mean, it was huge. And for those of you who understand how a dowsing rod works, it's basically two L rods, which are 90-degree angles. And when you hold them in both hands, and as you approach someone with an intention of, okay, I'm going to read the field around this person, the rods will separate when it comes in contact with the field around that person. So that's where you get an idea of how far out a field goes in for a certain person. I then handed the rods over to Nina, and she did the same kind of test on me, first without the biofield resonator and then with the biofield resonator. And mine was about 2 inches from my body without the resonator. And then with the resonator, it was about 1.5 feet. So in both cases, we're seeing a strengthening of that biofield, and we were able to test it with the L rods. And then
we were both really, really tired
Yeah.
yesterday too. So our fields were kind of low and sluggy to begin with.
Right. And this is post Thanksgiving too. So we're, into the holidays, into the winter. I mean, it's been snowing up here in Vermont for the last few days. So it's, we're into deep hibernation mode here.
Well, that's really exciting. And it's fun to hear how other people do their testing, because I don't use the L rods. I use O-ring testing. So it's interesting just to hear even how you tested. So Nina, you're an acupuncturist. One of the things that I do when I'm testing people, and you guys might have fun doing this with the rods too, is I'll have them touch different acupuncture points. So like I'll go through GB20, hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, thymus at the chest, heart outflow, stomach, small intestines, kind of just down the main chakra points. And we'll look for a point that might be off. And then,
that's a great idea.
Yeah. And then add in the resonator, and you'll see that point turn on. So a lot of the points that are most affected by electromagnetic fields are, I would say, thyroid, thymus, deep sleep, which for me is behind the ear, about 1.5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And cell energy points, which I test right at the apex of the ear, right above the ear.
Your deep sleep point may correspond to Chinese medicine Anmian, ANMIAN, which is usually used for sleep. People can't sleep. Kind of sounds like what you're talking about 2 inches behind the ear.
Okay.
So I'm just let you know.
Yeah.
Amion sounds a little bit like Ambien too, which is also a sleep aid.
Yeah, I find it's also correlated to gallbladder a lot. A lot of times people aren't sleeping because they've got gallbladder congestion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes shows up when I'm testing that. But there's lots of different ways you can test it. I usually put a phone on somebody's energy field too, or like in their pocket, and you can see their field crash even further. So let's say their field's 4 inches from their body, and you put the phone on them, and then there's no field. It's completely crashed. And then you put the resonator in their pocket, and their field goes out, to 2 feet. So sometimes what I see is that their field actually becomes stronger when they have both the phone and the resonator together. And I believe that's because it's changing the directional spin of the electrical particles.
Oh.
Yeah, I was thinking that last night. What we were doing is we were testing our little devices that we have. We have little discs on the back, which are supposed to dampen EMF. And we actually have something that plugs into the wall in our house that dampens the whole house EMF. And, to just help with all of the stuff that we have that is in the house, and then all the stuff that may be also coming in from outside. And as we were doing that, we tested a laptop that didn't have one of these discs on the back. And we noticed that with the resonator, the field actually got a little bit stronger than it was without it. And I think that, you can absolutely change the, I'm going to say, for lack of a better word, the quality of a field. Something could be kind of negative to healthy cells, but then you can kind of change it, almost like changing its spin, but that's probably not right, but changing it in some sort of way so that it actually becomes good for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a right-handed spin is in opposition to the way our cells are, function. And a
Yes.
left-handed spin is beneficial, and it's in congruence with it. So an example with a supplement would be, sometimes you see supplements are called like L-theanine or L-glutamine.
Mm-hmm.
What the L means is that molecule has a left spin to it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating?
Cool.
And so your cells are like, yay, it's spinning the right way. So your cells can absorb it easily. With synthetic nutrients, they have a right-handed spin a lot of times. So your cells can't absorb them the way, they're not recognizing, and they're not connecting properly, I guess. It's sort of be like putting the positive battery to a positive battery, and they're repelling.
Right. Wow.
So, yeah.
I noticed that a lot of vitamin C is ascorbic acid. And I learned recently that generally comes from like GMO corn mold,
Mm-hmm.
which mortified me to no end. And, so now I'm looking at everything. Does it have ascorbic acid? I'm not going to get it. Everything in the house that I didn't know. My point to this, it can't be good for you.
Right.
To have vitamin C made out of mold instead of out of something real, like oranges or lemons or something like this. So I can just imagine some supplements work a whole lot better for you. And I don't think people really realize that there are different qualities to the ingredients that go in. And like you're talking about, left-handed spins to things as opposed to right-handed spins. I think it's important that people understand that they can check what they're buying, even in the store. We do this a lot, Bill and I. We'll take the pendulum and maybe something's going on with me and I don't really know what to do about it. So we'll just go down the line. The pendulum will pull out the most obscure sort of supplement that, I'm thinking, I don't know how this could possibly work, but it does. And it's amazing. People can
I have a chapter in my book, Conscious Conduit, that describes that process.
A lot of people will start out doing the sway technique in this, I don't know, years ago. That's what like a lot of people were doing when they were at the grocery store, like holding a bottle or an apple or something, and
yeah,
the body went forward or toward it or backward and was repelled away from it. And then I think people kind of start refining their dowsing technique and find something that's not so odd looking when you're at the store, right?
When we're in the store, Bill will often like put his thumb and his pointer finger together, like in an okay sort of sign, and then try and pull his fingers apart. Mm-hmm. And if he can pull them apart, then there's a weak field, and maybe what we're looking at buying just isn't going to be very effective. But if he can't pull them apart, then it's a strong field. And that's something that's really easy to do. And no one notices that you're doing that in the store.
Yeah, that's what I do too. I use my thumb and ring finger though.
Yeah, ring finger, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And it's very subtle and it's fast. It works really, it's quick.
Right. And what's interesting too is when you ask the question, and if it's definitely a yes, this is good for you, the field is strong, it's surprising how effective it is. I mean, you can put your will behind it and say, no, it's not going to move. But then you're not really testing at that point. You're just letting your ego get in the way. But that's why it's important just to do it quick. It's like, okay, is this good? No. This one, oh, that's good.
Yeah. So while we're on this subject, when you start really testing, everything around you, or like you're going through the grocery store, okay, and you're testing like the apples and the onions and the garlic and the carrots and the whatever. You can, for me, there was a point where I was like, everything is bad. Like there's nothing that's testing on. There's nothing that's good for me.
Yeah, I have noticed that myself. Yeah.
And there's some reasons for that. And there's ways to fix it. Because you don't want to get to a point where you're like, oh my God, the whole world is poison, and you're scared to eat or anything or drink anything. And I think that's what happens to some people initially. One of the reasons that something can be off is because it's not organic, right? It's got pesticides on it. Another reason that something can be off is because it has a barcode, which is just about everything in the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
So a fascinating thing to test is if you buy an organic apple and it has the little barcode sticker on it, you can muscle test the barcode or test the whole apple. It's going to test off. Then you test the barcode. The barcode tests off. If you cut the barcode off, the apple will actually be weaker energetically where that barcode was.
Wow.
Like under the skin. So what do you do about that, right? There's a couple things you can do. You can like bless your food. You can say a prayer over it. You can hold it and, say love. You can use a green laser, a green multi-beam handheld laser will clear all your food. I have a tachyon energy plate that you can put food on, and it will neutralize the pesticides and chemicals, and it will energetically turn it back on. But just something as simple as praying over your food before you eat it and blessing it will actually energetically turn it back on.
Yes, the meal blessing, everyone thinks that but that was all about, religion or whatever. It actually, the origin of it is to raise the energetic vibration of the food. And so a lot of people are not in that habit to bless their food before they eat it. And it's a good practice to bless your food before you eat it. I saw this in action, or at least I read about it in action in the book, The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. And he was talking about how by taking a moment to raise the energy of your food, you are then getting the maximum nutritional benefit from that food, as opposed to just scarfing it down without doing anything.
Right. Dr. Emoto's work was like that, right? Where
yes, I believe so.
He looked at the different water molecules under the microscopes, and then he took, glasses of water, and he wrote different words on them, like peace or love or hate or anger, and froze the water crystals. And the ones that had the negative words on them were misshapen and disformed, and the ones that had the positive words on them were, these beautiful, perfect, crystalline, snowflake shapes.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's water or cells that are alive, or even cells from a plant. They all tend to pick up on each other, and depending on the field coming in, whether it's love or happiness or hate or some sort of aggressiveness, everything kind of reacts.
Okay, so let's bring it back to the resonator here. And let's talk about here. You mentioned Andrew Kemp or Kempleton. His website is quantumk.co.uk. So can you tell us a little bit about the research that he's done and how that influenced the development of the Biofield Resonator?
I found out about him through one of my clients years ago, and was on his website. He has some cool videos that you just play, and they're like healing videos that have certain quantum harmonics and these number sequences that do different healing in your energy field, and you just sort of watch the video. But then he also has, an entire manual of his quantum case system. And then what I have found really helpful, though, that I use of his are his scan lists. So if you are exploring his manual, at the very bottom, there's a PDF file that says scan lists, and there's one called explanatory notes that will really explain all the different headings in there. And it's been a great tool for when I've been stuck with a client or they have an issue that's not resolving through emotional clearing or supplements or EMF remediation, because he really delves into, all these different areas, and he breaks them down by subject heading. So you can look very quickly through dowsing at the scan list and see, is it heavy metal toxins? Is this from a scar injury from a medical procedure? Is this from a past life soul issue? Is this from geopathic stress? Is this from, energetics, plant spirits, water spirits in the environment? And, maybe there's, I would say, close to 500 different headings that have matching harmonic sequences. And so you can pinpoint things that are the issues very quickly if you're a fast dowser. And then you can actually use the number sequences to clear the issue. So that's what I've found so useful, is not only being able to identify a problem, but then having a way to solve it. The other thing that I've found with the resonator is that it will stop depolarizing energy spins on the body that are created from vaccinations or from nasal swabs. So if you've had a vaccination in your life, which is pretty much most of us, even if you were a child, you have a depolarizing energy spin that stays in your energy field forever unless you neutralize it. So that's energy that's constantly being pulled off of your field and creating like a drain. And you can take the resonator and put it on your vaccination points for about 7 to 10 minutes, and it will stop those spins. And the way we know this is because we can dowse it, right? We can muscle test it. So you can muscle test the vaccination point on your arm or your leg or wherever you got it, and you'll see that energy field is weak. And then you can put the resonator on that point, and then you can retest it after, a period of time, and you'll see that field strengthens. So you can, if you're testing yourself, you can touch the point directly, but if you want to feel the spin and what it's doing to your energy field, you could actually pull your fingers or your intention, if you're using rods, right off of the shoulder, let's say, and you'll be able to see that there's a depolarized field there versus somewhere else on your body where it might be stronger.
What about post-surgery?
I think it has the ability to help with healing. I've used it, for localized pain before, and it does seem to help.
Excellent.
Another thing it really seems to help with is dreaming. I've had lots of people say that their overall sleep is better, deeper REM sleep. People that haven't dreamed in years all of a sudden start having these vivid dreams again, and some people even that have that get their communication or their spiritual information through dreams have said that it's helped them reconnect that way.
What about general medicalization? Say that your doctor or like you have you're a person who gets regular dialysis treatments, or you get regular chemotherapy for cancer or that sort of thing. Is the resonator also good for rebalancing those entry points for things going into your body or coming out of your body to help the healing process?
I haven't tested that specifically. My assumption is yes, that's going to help. Anything that's going to strengthen your field is going to help you heal faster. Another thing that's really good for cell protection, whether it's, you're having chemotherapy or radiation or just our regular exposure to microwaves and radiation, green tea extract is really, really beneficial for helping protect the cells and helping them heal from that type of exposure.
And green tea is one of the supplement options that you have through your website, correct?
It is. Yeah, I have it in a liquid or a capsule, and it's really high in antioxidants, and it can be great for protecting thyroid, helping with digestion, helping with weight loss, just quenching free radicals and anti-aging.
I'm actually taking the green tea liquid right now, and I have actually noticed way better digestion since I started it about a week in. And then I tend to sometimes have like acid reflux at night, and it has nearly stopped that. So I'm having better kind of motility in my digestive tract. So everything is kind of moving down at a better pace than it was before. So I can certainly attest to that.
That's excellent. Yeah, it's alkalizing too. So wonderful.
Oh, how great is that? Anything that's alkalizing is fantastic. We alkalize our water, and we try to eat mostly alkaline food for all those wonderful health benefits that brings. That's great.
So Jayme, so hopefully after listening to this, our listeners are very interested in getting one of these Biofield resonators for themselves. So can you tell them how they can get them?
Sure. They are on the website, which is biofieldexpert.com. And we have a holiday promo, so they can use coupon code holiday50. And that should take 10% off their order.
And how are you on stock and shipping and all that stuff?
We're on schedule right now.
Excellent.
Yeah, orders should ship next day, and people have them in time for the holidays. If they want to give gifts, they come with a nice trifold brochure that explains sort of the development of them and how they work and what's unique about them.
That's fantastic. Okay, excellent. So Jayme, as always, fantastic, wonderful to talk to you here on High Vibes. And again, you can find her at biofieldexpert.com, or you could also go to vitalbioenergetics.com and find some information about everything that we do here. Thank you very much for listening, and we hope to see you guys next week, and have a great and wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you for listening. For more information about Bill and Nina G, please go to www.vitalbioenergetics.com. See you next time.